Howdy folks, you're watching Deuce, and today we're going to talk about the air compressor system and the air system in general on the old Deuce and a half. Your first question will probably be, why does the Deuce and a half have an air system to begin with? Well, it runs various things on the truck, mainly the braking system. Now it has air brakes, but not those kind of air brakes. It uses a very different system of air braking that has nothing to do with what you might be familiar with in the commercial trucking industry. If you want to see more of that, I did a whole video on it right there. The compressor on the Deuce and a half is run off the accessory belt. It's basically an accessory, just like a, just like an alternator or something. But in this case, it's the air compressor, and it's situated about right here on the driver's side of the engine. Let's go and open this sucker up, and I'm going to show you. I purposely bought a very, very tall tripod just for situations like this. Unfortunately, I left my pointer at home, so we're going to use a stick. Man, look at that big old straight 6. It's huge. Okay, right over here, here is your compressor. The compressor is lubricated by engine oil, and one point of failure is oil starvation. When servicing the compressor, it was common to use RTV sealant, that's room temperature vulcanization sealant, in place of the proper gaskets. But if you use too much, it can get squeezed into oil passages, restricting flow. So look over your compressor to make sure there's no RTV sealant sticking out of any of the joints. If you do see any, it may be a good idea to rebuild it using the correct gasket kit that you can get from any military truck part suppliers. It has a large line exiting there and another line coming off the side there. That goes way back in the back here and moves over here to right there. You can see that I'm pointing to there. That is the pressure regulator, and that's one of the things that goes bad more than likely on your air system. I've never seen one not mounted to the firewall just like this, so they're all pretty much right here. Some of them, of course, every Deuce is a little bit different, so it could be mounted somewhere else, but for the most part, it's going to be here, and they are super cheap. If something goes wrong with this sucker, they cost like 20 bucks. So it's not a big deal at all to change these out. You unscrew everything, you put in a new one, you screw it back up, and you adjust it with the adjustment knob on the other end right there. Per the manual, the correct settings for the air governor is to turn on at 100 psi and to turn back off at 120 psi. Personally, I've never had a problem with this, except for when it's super cold, this will freeze up on occasion. You give a little tap, 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 and it comes right back to life. That is probably an indicator that it's on its last leg, but so far, it has been no problem at all. I've been doing that for years. Still no problems whatsoever. Now, if you follow this line right here, this copper line right there, it goes all the way down to the horn. It's pretty much a standard horn, except it's not shiny, and it's always loose. Look at that thing. That bell is almost always loose. I drove from Pennsylvania to Tennessee with this thing walling around down here, completely just stuck amongst the wires from the generator right there. I cannot believe I've not lost that bell yet. I just remember to tighten it up every couple hundred miles, and it seems to be okay. But I should probably look into that. Maybe get some Loctite or something on that, but I just never bother with it. You can see where it's wearing its way on that little solenoid section right there. So it's been doing that for a long time, way before I got it. So what else does the air system do besides the brakes and the horn? Well, it does a few things. On some of the Deuce and a halves, it actuates the front end drive. The old Sprague system, of course, is mechanical, but the newer, which they're all old trucks, they're all older than dirt, but the newer version has a pneumatic front end that you engage with pneumatics, with air pressure, to engage the front end axle. If you're towing a trailer, you also use pneumatic brakes on that as well. Also the windshield wipers. The older version of the Deuce and a half, or the older windshield wiper version, is pneumatic as well. And it is swapped back and forth. You know, it is pretty archaic as far as the windshield wiper system goes, and it's pretty underpowered too. You're not going to be washing off snow off these windscreens with the pneumatic version. Later on, they did upgrade to the electronic version, which is an improvement in every way, shape, or form. But the pneumatic version is what I have, and it seems to work okay. Every now and again, you do got to take apart the cylinders, because it's basically just a cylinder going back and forth inside that cartridge. And every now and again, you take that out and put a little grease on the O-ring, slap it back in, and you're good to go for years to come. The stock air compressor on the Deuce and half is rated, the only specification I could find is that it's rated at 7.25 cubic feet per minute. I have no idea what PSI that is. I have no idea if the engine RPM affects that rating. No idea whatsoever. All I know is it is adequate. It's like the Rolls-Royce Power from the 70s. It is adequate for its intended purpose. No more. If you want to run air tools off this thing, you're not going to do it. Good luck. Good luck. You can run very, very small things with it. You can air up tires with it, but you're not going to be roofing your house with the air compressor on a Deuce and half. It does not have that much capacity. It does not have that quick of a recharge for that capacity, because the tanks, you have 2 tanks underneath the bed, and they're not big either. Always remember that at the end of the day, you always need to drain the water out of the air tanks. This is to prevent rust. This goes for pretty much any air compressor. I am often asked what websites or where do I go for parts for my Deuce and half. Well, military vehicles, you're not going to be buying those parts off Amazon, usually. Every now and then you can find some headlights or whatnot, but normally you're not going to find decent parts off your normal automobile websites. So where do I find parts for my Deuce and half? The pictures of the parts I have listed on this video, all the pictures came from Big Mike's Motor Pool. Just Google it. I'm not going to give out websites because, number one, I'm not sponsored by anybody. And number two, website addresses change all the time, so I'm not going to leave that and try to monitor that. Just Google Big Mike's Motor Pool. They are good people. I have ordered from them several times and have received great service from them. They're not the only game in town though. They also have Eric's Military Surplus. Also good people. I've also experienced good service from them. Let's see, a third company that I have worked with, that I have not worked with, bought stuff from, is Real Custom Trucks. Just Google Real Custom Trucks. They have very good prices, especially for their blinker, the blinker module that I changed out in a previous video. I'll put that right up here. That came from Real Custom Trucks website. Again, no sponsorships whatsoever. I bought that with my own money and they shipped it to me as a normal customer. Notable mentions of companies that carry Deuce and half products, but I personally cannot vouch for them because I've never ordered from them, is Boyce Equipment, Memphis Equipment, and Eastern Surplus. Those 3 companies, I have heard good things about. One funny story is that a friend of mine was stationed in Germany many, many years ago, and he had he claimed someone else did it, but someone hooked up the trailer brakes incorrectly. So my buddy's job was to deliver an empty trailer. Luckily it was an empty trailer to another base, another section of the base, what have you. I have no idea where he was going, but he was taking it down the highway to another location. And all these cars, after a couple miles, all these cars started coming up to him and pointing at him and waving and stuff like that. And he just thought, oh, well, we're famous. Yeah, we're Americans. Great, we're Americans, yeah. Finally, he looked back, or somebody in the cab looked back and saw this big billowing smoke coming from the brakes on the trailer. The whole thing pretty much burned to the ground. Just a trailer, not the Deuce and half. Deuce and half was fine. But the trailer apparently burned to the ground next to, well, on the side of the highway. They pulled over on the side of the road, was able to unhook the trailer from the Deuce and half, pull the Deuce and half to a safe distance, and pretty much just watch the trailer burn up. Now, of course, the trailer is mostly metal, but the canopy, of course, burn up. All the little support beams and everything inside the canopy burn up. I'm assuming the brake system had to be completely redone, probably a new axle. They probably just swapped out a whole new axle, if they even bothered to fix it at all, because the trailers were Pretty much a dime a dozen anyway. Well guys, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a like and go subscribe. A lot more is on the way. If you have any comments, questions, or a show ideas, leave that in the comment box of the video. Remember, if you want to stay on Deuce and Guns channel, go ahead and click on one of these two videos right over here, and that will keep you watching away. As always, you guys have a great day. See ya.